I have some footage to play for you that is genuinely stunning and has massive implications for the 2024 election. And it's of a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. state director, campaign director, who admits on camera that the message should be, and the goal is from the RFK Jr. campaign, at least from her perspective, to just defeat Joe Biden. That's her number one priority. And very likely that's going to get Trump elected. Very likely the best effort from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could just be to get enough electoral votes that neither candidate gets to 270 electoral votes, and thus what happens if neither candidate can get to that number, then the election sent to the House of Representatives, and the state delegations from each state just get one vote. And there are enough states that have a majority Republican state delegation that likely Trump would get elected by the House of Representatives. And she lays this out clearly, a plan that could upend this election, where RFK could be a spoiler explicitly, as Rita Palma, this New York State director, explains it. And I'll talk about my rather strong feelings about this after we watch the video that I'm talking about. Hear from some private meeting event, she explains it this way.
So right now, the way that I see it, and things I guess will change over time because you do have to only pick one candidate at the end of the day, but
I'm going to really quickly pause your viewing of this video to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just click that subscribe button plus the like button as well, and the alert bell so you get notifications. Back to it.
The Kennedy voter and the Trump voter, the enemy, our mutual enemy is Biden. Whether you support Bobby or Trump, we all oppose Biden. 270 wins the election. If you don't get to 270, if nobody gets to 270, then Congress picks the president. Right now, we have a majority of Republicans in Congress. So who are they going to pick? Who are they going to pick if it's a Republican Congress? They'll pick Trump. So we're rid of Biden either way. People kept continually telling me, wow, that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. So, I'm kind of mulling it around. What should I do with this? What should I do with this? And then I got a call from the campaign. And, they were going to hire me as their New York State director. And I said, okay, I want to take the job, but I'm going to tell you right now that this is part of my messaging. And if I'm allowed to preach that, if I'm allowed to, get that message out there, then yeah, I will definitely work for the campaign, but I don't want to be restricted in what I say because I think this is a really winning strategy. And my boss said, well, okay.
So before I respond, here's some reporting from CNN. A New York-based campaign official for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is pitching Republican voters to support his independent presidential bid by arguing that Kennedy will help Donald Trump defeat Joe Biden if he's on the ballot in New York. Rita Palma, who has identified herself as the Kennedy campaign state director in New York, has repeatedly made the case, including in a meeting with Empire State Republicans, that efforts to put Kennedy on the ballot in New York will help get rid of Biden, which she called her number one priority, and make it easier for Trump to win the historically Democratic state. So the case she's making is, listen, we know RFK Jr. is not going to get 270 electoral votes and become the president, all right? But he takes enough in enough places. Now, there's two ways this could go. He could take enough in swing states in terms of just votes so that Trump wins the state and gets their electoral votes. Or he could win, which I don't even see this happening, but let's say that he won just a couple states here and there and caused neither candidate to get 270 electoral votes because they don't win enough states to get there. Then again, the case where it gets into the House, and because of the way that election works and the amount of states that have majority Republican delegations, thus their one vote would be given to the Republican candidate, likely Trump could likely become president, given the presence of RFK Jr. More likely, the way that RFK Jr. would help Trump is he pulls some votes from Biden in crucial swing states, and Trump wins those and wins the election. And so here, she's admitting, and the RFK Jr. campaign likely also understands, that one of the likely outcomes of him being in this race, it's not him winning the election. It's him helping one of the candidates win, and they think it could be Trump. Now, full transparency, RFK Jr.'s campaign came out and said, oh, this was Rita Palma just speaking in her private capacity. She is a member of our team, but she was not speaking on behalf of our campaign. Yeah, okay. But you didn't deny the story that she came to you and said, this is my message. And you went, yeah, that's great. Because we agree with that. And this is extremely dangerous. It's going to be hard enough to defeat Trump. But adding into it a whole force that also wants to defeat Joe Biden, that's fine with the idea of Trump winning, is extremely dangerous. And what's the justification from the RFK Jr. camp, RFK Jr. himself, for him staying in the race? Well, he's been saying absurdly that Joe Biden's a greater threat to democracy than Donald Trump. Because if he admits what we know to be the case, which is that Trump threatens democracy, has authoritarian ambitions for second term, Joe Biden does not, and would uphold the Constitution and our democracy, then his presence in this race, even he would have to admit, is illogical. Because if you care about our Constitution, then wouldn't you just drop out, endorse Biden, and try to defeat Donald Trump? Because Biden and Trump most likely are going to win. So that would be the most rational thing, right? So he can't admit what's true about Trump threatening democracy more than Trump, but that's even a weird way to phrase it, because he's the only one that threatens democracy. And so instead he has to create this fictional world to live in where actually it's Biden who threatens democracy, so that his presence in this race is justified and can serve whatever weird egotistical thing is going on here with RFK Jr.'s presidential run. And he's using, I'm sure you're curious, as the argument of Biden being a greater threat to democracy, claims that aren't true, shockingly, like Biden tried to censor RFK Jr. Didn't happen. And he's referring to the same things we've debunked in the past of the government's forcing social media to censor people. Not true. Again, I've gone through the details of those claims and debunked them previously. But the second claim you'll see him making on Fox News here, and I'll debunk afterwards.
And in my case, I'll just say particularly, denying me Secret Service protection, that's never happened in history.
You think he's behind that?
What?
Do you think Joe Biden is behind?
Of course he is.
And does he know that your dad was assassinated?
He has a bust of my father behind him at the Oval
So how does
Office.
he sleep at night?
Yeah, so CNN reports on this. Kennedy's suggestion that he's being treated differently than every other presidential candidate since 1968 is baseless. In reality, the vast majority of candidates in modern presidential primaries never receive Secret Service protection. Never. Because they are not deemed major candidates, and it would be nearly unprecedented for even a major candidate to receive protection this early in a campaign if they did not already have it on account of currently or previously serving in the White House. And so what they're talking about here is if you're a major candidate and it's close to the election and there are concerns about threats to your life and you could become president, then they give you Secret Service protection. But continuing, a CNN review of presidential campaigns dating back to 1980 found that only then Senator Barack Obama, who faced unique threats as a black man with a realistic chance to become president, was granted Secret Service protection as early in a campaign as Kennedy is seeking it. So he just doesn't qualify for Secret Service right now. But he's portraying himself to be this big victim in Biden. He wants me to get hurt. And he wants me to be assassinated. And it's just deranged. And it's not true. It's not fact-based. And so this shows you how honest of a guy Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is. And now, not only do we have that context in mind, we also understand that his New York state director, as she identified herself, is out saying, hey, listen, here's the outcome that Trump supporters and RFK Jr. supporters can want in unison. Biden losing, and most likely that would mean Trump wins. So hooray for that, which is a bombshell and frightening that now we understand, at least it seems, the inner workings of this campaign are perfectly fine with the outcome of this authoritarian getting elected. And it does introduce a really major obstacle between now and the election in making sure Biden gets reelected. Now, I don't think it's insurmountable, but it takes us repeatedly calling out RFK Jr.'s campaign for this sort of dangerous behavior. And this is the real deal. This is democracy on the line, and they're playing around with it, with this sort of stuff. And they have people leading a state operation who are perfectly fine with the outcome that she outlined. And so as people sort of toy with the idea, and I've heard it from people too close in my life than I'd like to admit, saying, you know, Kennedy is an interesting option. I'm not super happy with both options, so maybe Kennedy might be cool. What? We got to just make sure people understand who he is, what he stands for, because I think they just hear Kennedy and they think, oh, I know Kennedy, that's nice. And that's not who we're talking about here. And all the people who are currently working on RFK Jr.'s campaign and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. himself, just know if indeed this wonderful situation, according to Rita Palma, happens and Trump gets elected because of you, that will be the legacy. That will be your legacy, contributing to an all-out assault on our democracy. And that's why even so many of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s family are saying, please elect Joe Biden, not our family member. One other thing I want to show you, former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, he responded to this claim from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that it's Biden who's the greater threat to democracy. And that's why it's okay for me to be in this race. And he had the perfect response. Take a look.
Well, and it also comes the same week that he, both campaigns have been worried about him, certainly more so the Biden campaign. But it comes after he said that he believed Biden was a bigger threat to democracy than Donald Trump. And when, you're looking at what happened on January 6th and exactly what Donald Trump did or did not do that day, I mean, it just makes those comments seem even richer in hindsight.
Look, you can dislike Joe Biden, but you can't with a straight face. This isn't even subject. I mean, it's not even subjective. This is like fact. You can't with a straight face say that Joe Biden's a bigger danger to democracy. Joe Biden has gone along with democracy as he's president. He's gone along with the rules of democracy. He's not tried to overthrow any election results.
He's exactly correct there. Please make sure you are subscribed to this channel.